Welcome to Achieving Failure, a podcast that gives you a break from politics, popular trends, and just brings you good old life stories and adventures. I'm your host, Chris, and join us each week as my friends and I reminisce over stories who made us who we are. We'd be honored if you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button so you never miss out. And now on to the show.
Like my family's got a whole category of things that can only happen to Mike.
So this is an Achieving Failure podcast exclusive.
Yeah, and outside of my really close immediate family, I've never really told this story. So, hey, you guys get a new one. So, I got picked up for the Navy in 2011. I graduated college in 2008. I was applying to get into the Navy from the time that I was a sophomore, and there was a program that was called the Bachelor Degree Completion Program. It's not around anymore, but as we've discussed briefly on this podcast, I have an identical twin brother, and he and I were both applying at the same time through the same officer recruiting office because we didn't go through ROTC. And at one point, I had been about 80% of the way through the application process to Annapolis. I already had a letter from a congressman. I had already met with a blue and gold officer. I had done all the steps. The only thing I really had to do was submit my package. And I was like, nope, I don't want to go that route. I don't want to spend my early 20s waking up at 4:30 in the morning. That's not my idea of fun. Now, I hate working out, and I don't like getting up early at all, so probably should have chosen an entirely different career path. But I graduated college at the peak of the economic collapse in December of 2008. When I graduated with 2 degrees, but no job, no place to live, no money, so and $140,000 worth of debt. So I moved back home from Tampa, Florida to New Jersey, and I was working as an EMT, working at a car dealership, working as an assistant private investigator, working at a bar doing security. I had a lot of different jobs. And I still wasn't ever able to save anything up. I wasn't able to do anything functionally. So I got picked up for the Navy when I resubmitted again. So after 6 years, I submitted a 5th application. I said, you know what, fuck it this time. I'm gonna go all out.
And at this time, you were how old? Sorry to cut you off. You were how old at this time? Because I mean, the military, there's a certain age limit for officer and all this stuff.
Yeah. So no, at this time I was 25.
Okay.
So I was 25, and I had been applying to civil service jobs. I had been applying to police departments. I've been applying to federal agencies, all kinds of shit. I was applying often and frequently down in Baltimore, and I had friends that lived down there. So one weekend I was going down there and I was taking the Baltimore police test. I called up the Office of Naval Intelligence, which is based out of Suitland, Maryland. And I called them up. I said, look, I need you to connect me to somebody who is a lieutenant commander or above that would be willing to have a quick meeting with a prospective officer candidate to write a letter of recommendation. So I did it because I wanted to go in to work in intelligence. And when I started, I was just applying for whatever job would take me. But after 6 years and 5 applications, I was like, no, I'm working in intel or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of in a baller move, I just call up the Office of Naval Intelligence. I go, so I need you to have somebody that is willing to interview me. And they do. They actually ended up connecting me to this awesome guy. At the time, he was a lieutenant commander. His name is John Bonenfant. Awesome dude. This is a guy who was a former F-14 pilot who had a midair collision, recovered, couldn't fly anymore, cross-rated into intelligence, became a lieutenant commander in intelligence, then started working for the Office of Naval Intelligence at SPEAR, which is a specialized program inside. And then when he eventually retired some years later, he went back to go and work as a civilian. And I'm not sure what he's doing now, but last I heard he was still there. But awesome guy. So I meet up with him and we have 2 pints over what was supposed to be kind of like a lunch meeting. No food was had. We just had 2 pints and a conversation. He wrote me the best letter of recommendation I have ever seen. And I've worked in some hiring positions and whatnot. I have never seen a letter of recommendation like this. He basically said that not only was it a mistake for the Navy to not have taken me at this point, if they were to accept me now, he would want me in his command. That's about as high a standard to tell a board that you could expect.
That's pretty badass. Like that's pretty awesome to get that high. I mean,
regard,
just that high regard.
Well, and that was the thing, is like part of it was very much characterizing me as like, he's applied 6 times over 5 years. He's not going anywhere. He's going to keep doing this until we take him. And the fact that we haven't yet is really stupid. So that sold the board. So I got picked up around September of 2011. I was working as an EMT in Atlantic City. I was working as an EMT both professionally and as a volunteer, while having multiple other jobs. But I was working primarily out of Atlantic City as an EMT. I was one of 8 senior crews that we had, because we only ran 4 ambulances a day. I think I might still hold the record for the number of calls done in a single 12-hour shift. I did 32 calls in a 12-hour shift.
Jesus.
I might still hold the record in AC, but that was not a fun day. But anyway, so I was making $12 an hour. I was making $12 an hour as an EMT in one of the most complicated, challenging, in dynamic cities in America. I had delivered a baby in the field. I had done incident command for multiple casualty incidents. I had treated and transport. At the time that I got picked up, I had almost 5,000 911 calls under my belt. So I finally get picked up, and then I go to OCS in January of 2012. Coincidentally, I signed my paperwork in September 2011. About 3 weeks after I signed my paperwork accepting the appointment to OCS, I get mail traffic that from the Secret Service and from NYPD Intelligence Division offering me jobs. And I was like, where the hell were you the last 3 years?
Which everything normally takes forever. Snail mail, because it is what it is. I've dealt with that.
3 years I've been going through the processes, and like, they couldn't have offered me a job before I signed up for the Navy. Either way, it's fine. I had already, at this point, accepted that if I was going to be able to ever pay off my college or whatever, first thing I needed to do was get the hell out of my house, because it was like I was 16 all over again, and now I'm in my mid-20s. It was not a viable situation. And then I was going through some personal stuff. I had a lot of, at the time, undiagnosed depression, which led to some alcohol abuse and other stuff. But I did not want to be around my family, which, I regret now, and I've rectified a lot of those relationships, but there's still damage that's been done. But anyway, so I go to OCS in Newport, Rhode Island in 2012. It is a 12-week program. I had an incredibly atypical experience because, as I said, my identical twin brother got picked up while we were sophomores in college, but that basically meant he got paid to finish out college, so he graduated after me. He graduated in spring of 2009. So he had only been to OCS the summer of 2009. Now, again, it is a 12-week program. He was there for 24 weeks. And, when he comes on the podcast or whatever, he can tell the story about all of the stuff that happened. But the end point is, by the time that he left, the time between when he left and when I got there was only about 2 years. So all of the drill instructors that he had over those 24 weeks were still there. And he's my identical twin, and I look exactly like him. So I had an atypical experience. Day one, you go in, you do your administrative stuff. Day two, you start off with a PT test first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
First thing in the morning, I walk in and I'm doing my push-ups, and I see this short DI, gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, awesome guy, gunnery sergeant Cross. Not sure if he's ranked up or retired. I haven't really followed, but he awesome guy. But I watch him walk over to one of the senior classmen, rip a clipboard out of his hand, scroll down the page, and go, "Pollard, son of a bitch, I knew it." And I'm just like, great, this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're not even at the point of marching in formation or anything yet. We're just kind of a gaggle that's heading over to lunch. And the DI that my brother had when he graduated OCS was walking out of the chow hall, spots me immediately, pulls me out of ranks, and him and I just actually have a very pleasant conversation. But now this is twice before lunch in the first day I'm there that my whole class has gotten to see me singled out for special attention, let's call it. So then we walk in, and my gunnery sergeant stands me up in front of everybody at lunch and points me out to everybody in what's called the Shark Tank, which is where all of the senior about to graduate classmen, all of the drill instructors, and the master gunnery sergeants all sit and eat. Oh, and the RDCs, which are your regional division commanders. Those are the naval equivalents of DIs. So fucking day one, I'm public enemy number one to my class. Just because I look like my brother.
Hey, it's Chris again. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Come back each week as we dive headfirst into more misadventures. Find us on social media, and if you have a story you'd love to share, shoot us an email at aflvpodcast@gmail.com. That's AF, Achieving Failure, LV, Las Vegas, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.